Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I'm back with a new layout for the Paige Evans design team, and I'm going to be using the Bungalow Lane collection for this. And I've already got my photos printed out. I've got a cute little photo strip here of my daughter from the summer. And I like the blues and the greens and the neutral colors in there. And I wanted to try to use the washi tapes from this collection. I have not used those yet. And of course, there's a rainbow variety of colors in there. And I'm going to try to incorporate a cut file, one of Paige's cut files. This one's called Butterfly Border. And I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I cut it 3 times. I kind of flip-flopped it one time and did the mirror image. But I like these kind of cut files because you get the outline of the shape and then you get the inner pieces. And I had an idea kind of floating around of kind of just doing a bunch of layered butterflies. And so I cut it 3 times and started to play around with the whole thing. And then once I started putting it down on the paper, it just looked like a big cluster. Like, I don't know, it was too much. I didn't like that at all. I thought this is going to be way too busy and it's just too much. So I wound up only using 1 strip of the butterflies here, but I like how it turns out. And I'm gonna sort of scrap lift myself. I've done this kind of sort of style of layout before, but I like how it turns out and it was fun to make, so we're just gonna go with it. I've got some papers picked out. I wasn't sure if I wanted to incorporate some matching pattern papers from Bungalow Lane or what, but I'm gonna start with the washi tapes. And what I'm gonna do is basically take the inner piece of each butterfly and cover it with some of this washi tape and then cut around the edges to trim off the rest of the tape. And so it's going to look like I used pattern papers, but it's the washi tape. So this is just one of many ways that you can use washi tape. You know, the possibilities are endless, but so yeah, this took a little time. It didn't take a lot of time, but you just have to be patient if you want to do this because you have to trim the edges off. And it is sticky, so it sticks to your fingers, but you know, there were only 5 butterflies, so it didn't take that long. But I really like how the washi tape looks. You get this rainbow effect because of all the colors, but there's still this, like they still have a fall feel to them, you know. They don't scream summer brightness. They have this muted feel, which I love for this time of year. And this particular tape here, it's thinner and it's kind of a cross between a pink and like a skin tone, kind of like a neutral color. And I'm going to use that in place of the orange because, like I said, these colors are soft and muted and it just works. So, all right, I sped that up. I've got all the colors done. The rainbow colors there, and I like how that looks. I think I'm just going to keep my photos in the strip. Sometimes I'll cut them and make them separate, but I like how they look in the strip there. So I'm going to do mixed media on this. So I'm going to coat my thick, smooth white cardstock with some clear gesso, and that is the Art Basics Finnabair clear gesso. And I'm just using a 2-inch silicone brush there to smudge it down, let it dry. And then I went through my entire shimmers collection and chose some colors that match these butterflies perfectly. And most of them are in the little pots that you see there. I think I have 1 spray picked out, but I wanted to basically add color coming down from each butterfly. So where it looks like as the butterflies are flying up, they've left this trail of color underneath them. So I'm going to use a brush and very intentionally start to paint each color kind of underneath where the butterfly is going to be. And the first color that I use there is a creamies, and it's called Good Old Summertime. And then I'm going to dab in a little bit of this spray here. This is a spritz called Caribbean Sunset. And both of these colors are this really muted red color, but they match that washi tape so perfectly. And then right up next to it, I'm going to come in with 2 colors that I'm going to mix together. This one is an Inklings called Dear John Letter, and then I'm going to add in a little bit of one called Shimmers Antique Lace. And I don't even know how to describe this color. It's kind of like a soft orangey peach. I wouldn't even call it orange, but it's got a peachy flesh color feel to it, and it matches that washi tape perfectly. And you can kind of see the idea that I'm going here with. I'm just going to do a little bit of each color, and I want them to kind of blend into the color next to it without muddying it up. But yeah, I like how this is looking, and I like that it's messy and it's kind of uneven, and each color is going to look a little bit different up next to it. Now this yellow color is very bold. It's another Shimmer's original mixture, and it's called Bumbly Bee. And there are differences in all the different finishes of all the shimmers. The creamies have more of a satin finish when it's dry, whereas the shimmers original have more of like a glittery finish, and then the inklings have a really pretty shiny finish. And once this is all dry, I will hold it up and you can see how they look different in the light. So for the green colors, I'm going to mix two. This one is a creamies called Sage It Isn't So, and then I'm going to dab in a little bit of a shimmers called Rita on the Rocks. And I'm really liking how this is looking. And you can see how the yellow is kind of leaking over into the peachy section. But because of the gesso, I was able to just dab it up. You can see how nothing is drying just yet. The gesso is what kind of creates this barrier between the paper and all this color and water that I'm adding. It allows you to move the color around, dilute it with water, blend it with another color. It gives you time to play with everything before it just dries. And I love that about gesso. This blue color is a creamies called Lapis Dance or Lapis Dance. And again, it matches the blue perfectly. And I'm just going to keep playing with these colors. I love this. I can, add more. I can dab some up if I change my mind because it's still wet and it's still moving around the page. And you're going to get a little bit of warping. You can kind of see there on the peach section where there's that little valley of the colors kind of pooling together. But that's okay. You can dab it up. You can turn the paper and let the color run. But this is what I got so far. And I'm going to twist it in the light. You can see the differences there in the inklings versus the shimmers versus the creamies. And sometimes the finish is not my biggest concern. In this case, I was just going for color. So I think all the finishes are beautiful and they all look different, and I like mixing and matching them together. But this is what I was going for, and I really am pleased with how that turned out. I think it's pretty, and I like the photo strip kind of sitting on top of the butterflies, so I can kind of overlap the butterflies on top of the bottom of the pictures there. I'm going to come back in with these same colors and just add a little bit of splattering. And again, because of the gesso, I can, if the color looks too dark, I can just roll my paper towels right over it or dab it up with a napkin. And that's, again, the beauty of gesso, is you have time to kind of change your mind. If you decide, ooh, this is not the right color, just, add a little bit of water to it and dab it up. And you have some leeway with the materials or the products that you're using. But yeah, and I really don't have a favorite. I like all of them for different reasons. I think all the colors are beautiful. And I love the challenge of pulling out things like the washi tape from Paige's collections here and hunting the perfect colors to match. And you could totally do this with anything. You don't have to use shimmers. You could use paint, you could use gelatos, you could use watercolors from an actual watercolor palette, And it's also fun to mix and match multiple colors together to get that one color that you're looking for. So I've done that many times too. So I've got the bulk of this design down. I'm liking how that's looking. I'm going to start to work on what else I'm going to do. I know that I'm going to add a little bit of white tissue paper behind my photos here just to start the layering process. I like tissue paper because it's easy to use. It's very subtle. It's kind of like vellum, You can it creates this subtle effect that you don't really notice right away, but it just gives a fun detail effect. And it also creates a little bit of a border around the edges of the photo. And I know I want to pop the photos up. I'm also going to pop up the butterflies. So I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive foam right in the middle of the butterflies because I want the wings to kind of bend up. So my favorite thing about using butterflies on a layout is the ability to make them look real, like they're flying around and they just landed on your page. So I love that. And another idea with this kind of cut file is you could, just use the butterflies. You don't even have to use the actual outline of the butterflies, but I wanted to use both. So I'm going to use some of these tags. This is paper number 22 from Bungalow Lane, and I'm just going to cut out the peachy colored one and this blue one and use these as layers behind the photos because I wasn't sure if I wanted to layer a bunch of stuff behind there. I don't want to make it too busy because, sometimes when my photos are in color and I have multiple ones, there's a lot going on. Even though there's only really blues, greens, and skin tone in the photos, it's still a lot. So I'm trying to find matching colors of the butterflies, but just kind of subtly peeking around the edges of the photo, kind of like this. And they all kind of come across as solids. I wasn't looking for any busy patterns to put behind the photos, because if you have busy photos and you mix that with busy patterns right up next to it, sometimes the photos get lost, or the busy pattern paper stands out way more than your photos do, and it kind of takes over the page. And for me, I want my photos to always be the focal point, because that's the whole point to me of making a scrapbook page, is to showcase your photo. But I got the butterflies glued down. Here's what I got so far. You can kind of see how they're bending up off the page. I love that. And I can work on that again later, but I just love the paint, how it looks so shiny and shimmery. So pretty. I think I am going to use these tags. So I'm going to try to see if I can, make all three of these colors of these tags slightly visible behind the photos. And I like how that looks. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue, get that attached so I can kind of just move it around as a big unit. Because like I said, I wanted to pop that up off the page. So I'm going to add some adhesive foam. I'm going to use my little edge distressor there to kind of ruffle up the edges to give it a little bit of a weathered effect. And you could use the side of your scissors if you don't have an edge distressor. It does the same thing. I am going to thread a little bit of cord, or what is that stuff called? It's not thread. Cord? I guess it's cord. I can't think of the correct name for it. But anyway, I like to put ribbon or cord or something in the circle at the end of a tag to kind of give it a finished look. And in this case, I want my photos to be straight. Since they're already in that little photo strip and the butterflies are straight, I'm going to use my ruler there to make sure they are straight. Sometimes I want things crooked, but not in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. And then I wanted to add a little bit of something detailed. I felt like stamping. So I pulled out the stamp set from Bungalow Lane and some matching ink pads that I have in my stash from Pink Fresh Studio. And I picked out some matching colors, and I'm just going to do a little bit of subtle stamping, matching color to color here. So this is what a lot of scrapbookers call tone on tone. So I'm going to do the red on the red, the peach on the peach, yellow on the yellow. And the first stamp that I use there just says love. And again, it's very subtle. I don't want this to be something that stands out and makes the background busy. I tried to use this color on the peachy side, or the peachy section, but it was such the same color that you couldn't even see the butterflies. So I'm going to come back to that color later. But yeah, I just kind of, I pulled out a flower stamp. I pulled out the butterfly stamp, the love stamp. I think there's a little tiny heart. Just to add a little bit of detail there and give it a little bit of interest. And this is another idea, or not an idea, but a way to, I wanted to show you here in just a minute, if you change your mind, how you can fix this. But yeah, I love these little blue hearts. I stamp it a few times to kind of fade it out so it's not so dark. And I like how this looks. It is very subtle. I do wind up coming in with a darker color for the peach section, and this is what I'm talking about here in just a second. I'm going to show you if you do something and you think, oh no, like to me, that's just, it's too dark. It distracts from the lightness and the subtlety of the peachy section. But that was the next closest color that I had. So here's what I'm going to do to kind of fade this out. I'm going to use my water brush and just sort of blend it in a little bit so it's not as dark, and then dab it up with a napkin. And again, I'll say it, it's the gesso. The gesso allows you to do this. And I love this technique of stamping and then using a water brush or a wet brush to kind of blur it. And so you can kind of see there's some things going on there, but it's not, it's like you have to kind of look at it to see, what is that? Are those hearts? Is that a butterfly? And I like that. I think that looks neat. All right, so I'm going to start to work on, you know, where's my title going to go? What's the title going to be? Am I going to add things on top of the watercolor? What are we going to do? I kind of had a title idea in mind when I looked at the foam stickers, but I did want to add some thread first. So I'm going to start with the green. I'm not going to do every color. So I'm going to start with the green thread and kind of layer that under the green butterfly. And I decided to use the word beautiful in these foam thickers or foam stickers for my title, and I wanted it to be straight. So I'm going to stick the letters on top of my ruler here so I can kind of play around with where I want it to go. Do I want it on the side? Do I want it centered up? Since everything else is kind of centered up, and I think I'm going to do the centered. So I went through my thread again, and I'm going to try to find some thread that matches the peach section, and I really didn't have that color, so I'm going to mix two similar colors together, and that actually works. Even though it's not liquid, mixing two threads together, you can still kind of get the color effect that you're looking for. So I want that kind of, the texture from the thread. It's very subtle. It's, like I said, it's tone on tone, so it's not something that just jumps out. It just adds something extra. And then I'm going to very carefully stick these beautiful stickers down. And this is a little trick that I just was like, well, I want to keep these straight, because if I just do one sticker at a time, it's never going to be straight. And that worked out pretty good. I just stuck it to the end of the ruler there and kind of slid it out from underneath it. And it still wasn't perfect, but it was close enough. And I tried to center that underneath, you know, the photos, the butterflies, and the beautiful stickers have pretty much all the colors that I've already used. And I am going to add a little bit of glue under those to make sure they stick, because sometimes things don't stick very well on top of gesso. And I like how that looks so far. I played around with some of the other alpha stickers. I wasn't sure if I wanted to add on to the title or what, so we're just going to leave it at beautiful for now. I went through all the other embellishments, the die cuts, the 8-page sticker book, found a couple things I wanted to use. I liked this little sticker here that says Homegrown, and I know it's kind of big and it's going to overlap the colors, but I'm going to kind of try to put it under the green section. And then I tried a couple other things. You know, you never know what's going to look good where until you pull it off and try it out. The 8-page sticker book has a ton of stuff. Every sheet is completely different. You've got words, you've got stars, you've got hearts, you've got buttons, there's flowers, there's leaves, there's labels. Yeah, everything. I'm going to use this little label sticker up at the top just because I liked it. And even though it's green, I put it over on the left. So like I said, a lot of this is tone on tone, but some of it isn't. And, you know, it's okay. I found that there were little round button stickers in each color on the chipboard stickers. So I thought, okay, let's add these little details on here. It's very random, but I like how it looks and it matches. So we're gonna go with it. I do change out the red one, because the red one is a little circle with a heart, and I'm thinking, well, if all the other ones are buttons, I need to find a red one that's a button. So I changed that out, and I like that. It's different. We're going to go with it, you know. We're doing the tone on tone thing, and that's what I'm looking for now. I'm looking for other small pieces. So in this case, I'm looking for small, tiny things because I've already got all the big stuff done. So I'm looking for things that are small. This is a little gold hello sticker, and I thought, you know what? It fits right on top of that label up at the top, so let's stick it there. I thought about doing the date on that, which is probably what it's intended for, but we're going to do the date somewhere else. And then I went to this sheet from the 8-page sticker book and found more matching button stickers in each color. So I thought, why not use those? You've already got the button thing going on, so add a couple more. And it just kind of looks like buttons are kind of raining down underneath the butterflies, which is realistic, right? Not really, but who cares? It looks cute and it matches, so we're gonna go for it. So yeah, I like it. I like it. Sometimes random things are sometimes, even though they're random, it just makes sense at the moment, you know? Another gold sticker here that says love. I'm going to put that right there underneath Homegrown. And of course, I put it down crooked, so I had to fix it. And then I went to some more of the inside butterfly pieces that I cut out of one of the other cut files. And I'm going to color them and add them to the layout. So this is another idea of tone on tone. I'm going to use some of the same colors that I used earlier, so nothing new here. These butterflies don't have gesso or anything, and they're just plain old textured white cardstock. And I didn't do anything to them other than add the paint because I thought, you know, they're small. I use the brush, I dab on the color, use my finger to kind of smudge it around. I want these to look kind of messy, but I'm going to add them to their coordinating color area, and it's going to look kind of like a subtle detail. You'll see what I'm talking about here once I add them on. But yeah, I'm going to do one in each color. Very easy, very quick. This is, you know, you could cut a bunch of butterflies and do this with a bunch of butterflies and just make an entire layout of mixed media butterflies. That would be pretty too. So I'm going to get those painted up, let them start to dry, and then we're going to see how they look. Because I wasn't sure if this would make the bottom part of the layout look, you know, overly busy, or if the butterflies would kind of fade in since they're color on color, you know. And I don't think it makes it look too much busier, or too much busier, any busier. I like how it looks, so I'm going to wind up using those, but I took them off, I took a break, came back and did some machine stitching. I don't know, I just got a wild hair to get the gold thread out in the sewing machine, and I did some messy, crazy stitching along the side and the top of the photos, and then underneath the Homegrown sticker. I don't know what possessed me to do that. I just felt like stitching. I felt like there needed to be something else up at the top without big embellishments, so I thought, just do some gold stitching, why not? So I did, and that's how it turned out. Now, I'm not going to pop these butterflies up. I'm going to glue them straight down, only the middle, the center, because I'm going to go back to my sewing machine here momentarily and stitch little gold trails coming out of each of those butterflies. And I'm glad I did this. You know, it's one of those things where you don't know until you experiment with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This is the Jen Hadfield Gold Glitter Spray. I've had it for years. I don't know where to get it now. Honestly, haven't searched for it in a while. I got it in a hip kit from Hip Kit Club years ago. Anyway, let it dry. Here's the stitching. I ran that through my sewing machine with the gold thread again and just made small little trails from each of those butterflies. And this is what we got so far. I'm really liking how that looks. I did want to add a little bit of something to the centers of the butterfly. So I pulled out my stash of sequins and tried to match them as best I could. But I'm just adding little sequins, sometimes two, in the middle of each of the butterflies, just to give the butterflies a little body in the middle there. And I just think it gives them a little bit of a finished effect. And it creates some shimmer and some texture. But yeah. All right, here where we are so far. I like it. I think it's pretty. Oh, butterfly wings are my fave. I love how they just pop off the page. Super easy to create dimension. Now, I went back and forth about my journaling. So I decided to kind of do it right here in the middle of the yellow and the green section. And I had every intention of using my gold metallic pen. Problem is it blends in with the yellow and green too much and you cannot even see it. So I'm going to go back over it with my black pen, and it's kind of scratchy looking, but I think it's fine. And then I took another break and thought, I need to do something else along the bottom here. So check out my old Martha Stewart punch. You remember Martha Stewart punches? I don't even know if you can still get those at Michael's, but back in the day, I would go there once a week and use my 30% off coupon, and I would collect as many of these punches as I can, or as I could, and I still have them. So I got a wild hair to make a border punch down at the bottom. I don't even know, haven't done that in years, but here we are. I'm going to add a little bit of blue down at the bottom. I thought about doing all the colors, and I thought, that's going to be too much. So blue is a nice neutral color, so we're just going to add this little bit of blue at the bottom, and that blue paper is paper number 12. So yeah. I don't know, sometimes ideas just pop into my head And if I sit there and think about it too long, I won't do it. And so I thought, let's go look at the punches and let's just get crazy and do some punching. And here's what we came up with. A nice, fun little scallop there. And then I thought I do need to do something down here that involves all the colors. So I'm not sure if this was a wise decision, but I went with it. And I think it's okay. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I tore little bits of the colors of the washi tapes again and created this little overlapping cluster down here. I didn't use the blue one because the blue strip that I added. And I thought, no, what, why? No, I don't know. And then I saw this Thankful die cut and I trimmed it up, tore the bottom off to make it look messy. And then I'm going to add it kind of right on top down here. I don't know. I think it kind of echoes all the colors down at the bottom, but I don't know. I didn't want to just leave it solid white. So we're going to go with it and it's going to stay there and that's how it's going to wind up. And I'm almost finished. I'm going to show you. I did add some blue. I lied. I add some of the blue tape above Thankful. I forgot I did that. And then I machine stitch gold at the bottom. But looking at it here in the finished page, I think it looks okay. But when I was doing it, I thought, is this a mistake? I think it's fine. I like how this turned out. I really love the colors. I got a lot of close-ups here. You can see the pretty butterflies and all the matching colors. I love this cut file. It's very simple, but it has a big impact, especially with the butterflies. And you can make it as big or as small as you want. That's the beauty of cut files. There's some of the stitching detail and the layering. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to link the Bungalow Lane collection down below so you can get it, any or all of it. I'm going to link shimmers down below because I always get asked, where do you get the shimmers? They have their own website. I'm going to link it down below. There's a ton of stuff to choose from. But yeah, so I hope you guys have a great week. And I hope you got some ideas to try on your next layout. And I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching.